simple pleasure of enjoying a book has long taken a reader to distant times and places. It was a pleasure not widely available to Knoxvillians of the 1800s. But in 1886, a generous gift from Colonel Charles M. McGee enabled the founding of a subscription library so any member could borrow books at his leisure. That gift of $50,000 was the genesis of today's Knox County Public Library. In fact, it is the oldest continually operating library in the state of Tennessee. Colonel McGee made the gift as a memorial to his daughter, Lawson McGee Williams, who died while giving birth to her first child. That memorial would be a gift to the community for generations to follow. After 125 years, Lawson McGee Library has occupied several different buildings, but it has remained the hub of the Knox County Public Library system. Its history is filled with drama. Fire gutted the original structure in 1904. First reports indicated the library was a complete loss. Fortunately, the initial reports proved false. Books and library records had been removed from the burning building. In fact, all 13 of the rare books listed in a newspaper article of the time remain in the McClung Historical Collection today. The oldest of these, a 1796 edition of The Castle of Otranto, the first Gothic novel, continued to be circulated until only a few years ago. Now known as the Robori Building, that original structure still stands at the top of the newly revitalized 100 block of Gay Street. For a number of years after the fire, the library continued operating in a rented space. Then in 1916, changes to the city charter made it possible to support the library with tax dollars. The Lawson McGee Library Board merged the library assets into a free public library. The doors were open to all white citizens. A condition of that merger was that the name of the library would forever remain the Lawson McGee Library. A new facility bearing that name opened in 1917 at the corner of Market Street and Commerce Avenue. Against a backdrop of World War I, the library welcomed a dynamic new director, Mary Utopia Rothrock. A young librarian from Memphis, she would shape the system from 1916 to 1934 and make a mark on the country.
The library as an institution represents the concentrated, inherited knowledge of humanity, of all of society. You've expanded horizons, and when you expand horizons, buddy, that's where you get your leadership, that's where you get your ideas, that's where you make your progress.
She would see the library expand services to city schools and area businesses. This ultimately led to the Park City branch in 1925, the first full-fledged branch of the library. She pioneered regional management of libraries by contracting with TVA to send bookmobiles to the remote communities where workers and their families lived during the dam building projects. At the beginning of the Roaring Twenties, the donation of the magnificent private collection of historical materials by the widow of longtime library trustee Calvin Morgan McClung formed the basis of the McClung Historical Collection. Today, it is one of the most important collections in the Southeast. In the increasingly segregated world of turn-of-the-century Knoxville, library service had never been available to black citizens. When a group of African American leaders, led by Charles Chancellor, sought library access through a grant from Andrew Carnegie, Lawson McGee Library was a willing partner. In 1918, the Free Colored Library was built. Later it was called the Carnegie Branch. In 1950, the Knoxville Public Library again blazed a trail into new territory. More than a decade ahead of downtown lunch counters, the library quietly integrated and blacks were welcome in Lawson McGee. 10 years later, the Carnegie Library closed as a frenzy of urban renewal overtook downtown. Even as the library system expanded to 11 branches in 1945, a lawsuit over double taxation led to the creation of a separate county library system in 1949. The two systems continued on a parallel course until the Knoxville Public Library system and the Knox County Library merged as the Knox County Public Library system. A few years later, in 1971, a new modern Lawson McGee Library was built on Church Avenue in downtown Knoxville. Today, this building remains the home of Lawson McGee Library. Additional space was gained for the library when TVA gave the old custom house and post office to Knoxville in Knox County. Here, the McClung Historical Collection, the Knox County Archives, found a home in 1982 as the East Tennessee History Center. In 2005, the center doubled its size and became an impressive presence on Gay Street. Partnering with the East Tennessee Historical Society, the building is host to the Museum of East Tennessee History. Today, the center offers unparalleled access to the public in search of their genealogy and local history, and to scholars in pursuit of primary resources. In 1983, following the World's Fair, the city of Knoxville withdrew its financial support. Since then, Knox County has provided all local funding. Now, the Knox County Public Library provides service to every corner of this 500 square mile county, with 19 facilities, including one of which is housed in a former jail in Mascot, and another that sits next to a caboose in a depot-style building in Corrington. It's a system that stretches to the edges of our county. But our robust hold and transfer services
Yes, it's on hold for years.
Make it easy to reserve a book in Powell and pick it up in Farragut. Its legacy of innovation remains as the library has embraced technology to extend access to all people. Library patrons have a virtual branch that is open 24 hours, 7 days a week, with thousands of articles, databases, music, and books available when needed. Our library has broken new ground with digital resources and was the first in the state to offer downloadable audiobooks. And now the library is keeping up with the times by offering e-books, podcasts, and streaming media. The music and film collections are broad and strong despite format changes. The collections are known across the Southeast for their depth, breadth, and quality. Today, the library is the very important bridge in the digital divide, providing access to computers and the internet for thousands of citizens who wouldn't have access otherwise, and with guides to make it understandable and useful. Innovations are not just in technology. The library jumped at the opportunity to host Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, being the first urban community in the country to adopt this important early literacy program. 17,000 children in Knox County now receive a well-chosen book in their mailbox every month. It's a simple program that is changing lives. The wonderful folks of Knox County rely on its library system for everything from reading materials to job searches. Many a new business got its start with the help of a friendly reference librarian. Young minds are nurtured through story times and summer reading programs. Filmmakers are inspired through the movie collection. Computer workshops introduce skills to new computer users. Pages turn and time passes. With its 125th anniversary, the Knox County Public Library bridges the past and the future. There may be little physical resemblance to yesteryear, but the library continues to expand the horizons of Knox County citizens, just like that small library of so long ago. We are Knox County Public Library.